allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you could take roll, please.
Yes. Trustee Baldazzo.
Here.
Trustee Hardcastle.
Here.
Trustee Campbell.
Here.
Trustee Jensen. Trustee Sorrell.
Here.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Chair,
Yes, Ms. Archuleta.
I move to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I just went blank. All opposed, thank you. My brain just totally went. So approved. Next, we're going to board member recognitions. Anyone have any?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Have at it.
Good. Okay, so I would like to recognize the Notice Junior Varsity Basketball team because they got first in the district. And sometimes the JV gets overlooked a little bit. And so I want to make sure that they are recognized for winning their district. Awesome.
Well, I have one for Lexi Cuddyback. The other night at the boys' game afterwards, she was up sweeping bleachers. And I believe the very next day, she went and had shoulder surgery. And then the next day, she was at the games supporting the boys' play at an away game.
Wow.
So I want to give her
Very good.
Good job.
And I have kudos to the varsity girls basketball team for taking second place in the WIC tournament. Way to go, girls.
I've got a couple. I'd like to thank Eileen Javot and Chris Baldazzo for volunteering to bake all of the cookies for the sixth grade fundraiser. I know Eileen had oral surgery the day before, and I know my wife's been dealing with some personal issues with her family the last week or two. So 8 hours of baking cookies and helping decorate cookies was pretty amazing for me. So
Yes, it is for sure.
we need a consideration for accepting resignation for board chair. You have a motion for that?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we accept the resignation.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And now, I would like for you all to know that I am going to resign my position as board vice chair so I can be considered for the chair position. Do I have a motion for that?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to accept your resignation from for vice chair.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now moving on to electing a new board chair. Do I have any nominations?
I move that we elect John Baldazzo as board chair.
And I'll second that.
Do we have any others? All those in favor,
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like I'm the new board chair.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Do we have any nominations for board vice chair?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Hardcastle.
hard to say. I would like to nominate Matt Campbell for vice chair.
I'll second that.
Give me a second, please. Doesn't look like we have any others. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you.
I did.
I have to hear you. I have to.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Aye, to all of them. Other than the C. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Or do we have any questions in reference to consent agenda?
Not madam. Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we accept consent agenda as stated.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is accepted. Public participation. I believe we have something from the notice education assistant.
Do you want to share the slide?
Okay, yes, our spotlight, educator spotlight, Jim Baber, did I say that right, Baber?
Mhm.
Yes. We welcome him to our Notice team. You can see all his positions there. He shares, I love the atmosphere and what Notice is all about. It truly is a special place, and I'm grateful to be here. Married for 10 years, and he's got 2 kids that are in our elementary school. And then his free time with family, camping, playing basketball, and video games. So yay. The
There you
kids
go.
seem to really enjoy him over at elementary for sure.
And just a couple points, there's nothing really big on the announcements other than, Idaho legislature, as you all know, is in session and we are waiting
With bated breath.
yes, to see what happens with all of that. I actually believe Superintendent Jaramus has a list of some potential things that might be coming across the legislature this year on his report. Later in April, we will be sending one of our members to the IEA Delegate Assembly where we make motions on state level resolutions. And so we look forward to that. And that's it.
Thank you very much. And now for hearing from the public, we have Rodney Sequeira. You have a pass right now? Okay, you want to possibly, when we come to that? Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You bet. Move on to information items. First is student organization report from the FFA.
Gave the officers the night off because they've been busy out collecting auction items. And so that is always a fun thing. So here's their invitations for you. Well, to save the date, invitation card. Formal letters are going to go out this week to all the donors and our invitee list. We kind of manage 2 different lists. It's the donors, the businesses that we asked to support our auction with items, and then the invitee list or community members, and that list just continues to grow and grow so we can fill the gym with such a great crowd like we've had in the past. Again, it's Saturday, March 4th. Students are actively seeking a bunch of them went out this last week, and that's why they're going to be at the alumni meeting on Wednesday. So I'm like, just get your homework done tonight. Invitation letters will be going out to both those lists I mentioned later this week. So if anybody has, just spread the word as best we can. We've been putting it on all over Facebook and our Facebook page and the alumni Facebook page. Had a great opportunity this past month. We went to Boise to the Idaho FFA, kind of our day on the hill. This Pete Santarusa day on the hill, and Mr. Santarusa was just a great legislator. He started as an ag teacher, military man, World War II, and he taught ag for a few years. He then went through the ranks of the legislature and was Secretary of State for a very, very long time. So it was an honor to name this activity after him. We had our officer team there. It's a formal event, formal luncheon where they go in, we're down there at the Red Lion, and the legislators come and sit, and we scatter everybody out, and the legislators get to come and sit with the kids. So they have some nice training ahead of time as to how to interact with them. But it's nice to not even be sitting at the table with them and watching from afar how they interact with those leaders. And it's very positive coming back. Lieutenant Governor Scott Bickey was there. He was keynote speaker and brought remarks on behalf of Governor Little. Right after that luncheon, that morning and that afternoon, I was on the Idaho FFA Foundation Board of Directors annual meeting, which we held upstairs. So we broke for lunch, went down with the kids and the legislators, and then after lunch, we had a couple of our notice kids. I pulled them up and gave them a heads up what we were going to do. It's nice for the foundation. We talked about the foundation a lot. Just keep remembering that the state foundation is the money-making arm that statewide helps do a lot of great things for kids and scholarships and travel opportunities. And this latest one, I think I mentioned it before, that $100,000 gift that was given from Northwest Farm Credit in return of $500 SAE grants. And so we had 3 kiddos get that. We had 2 of them were officers and were there that day. So I asked those kids to go up and speak to the foundation board. It was great to be able to have that board, that group of businessmen, put an actual kid's face, and they were extremely well spoken. And I just told them, here's yourself. What does it mean to you? Thank you very much. Just give them the points. Wow, they did a great job. It was fun to see. And what they didn't know, and I didn't know, CTE State Director Clay Long was in the room in the back. And so it was really nice for him to, and he was on late in the afternoon, and that's the first thing he said in his remarks was how polished those students were. And so that was great. So now we're going to challenge the board, and we'll make sure Jessica gets word. So the Idaho FFA Foundation winter newsletter, and I put a link there, so I'm sure it's in your electronic board packet. So we're going to challenge it. The officers had an idea of how many times can you identify a Notice FFA student or advisor as seen in the pictures throughout that newsletter, or see the word Notice FFA, or see Notice FFA students' names mentioned throughout the newsletter. So we will expect when the students come back here at this meeting in March, they will be ready to go down the line and ask each of you for a number. Just one number, I'll give. 13 times, 6 times, 1 time, 32 times.
Really when?
Oh, this could be a very big prize. Very large prize. Gifts. Well, as it's come auction time, those chocolate bars have been ordered. And the mints.
When I tried the link,
Did it work?
No,
Okay, well, we'll make sure that we get it to Roseanne so it does
I
work.
think I was lost.
Oh, I think I know why it was. I did it as a PDF. Would it have still worked at that? It wouldn't. I'll send it to you. She'll get it out to you so you have a month to practice up. And then on the back, a couple of pictures of our group that was there at Boise. Just a really good thing. We're excited about the auction coming up. It's always a nerve-wracking thing. It's a lot of work by a lot of people. We appreciate all our parent support, community support. We're excited. It's going to be fun. So we hope that you can all make it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, the elementary principal report.
So I wanted to share with the board just a couple of quick things from the data side of things through the lens of the elementary principal hat. The first is behavior reporting and tracking. You can see that we've implemented the use of an online data tracking system K-12 this year. And this is kind of the drilled down look specifically at the elementary school. Feel like I jinxed myself by putting this in this report because they made up for it all last week. So February numbers are probably not bounced back up, but we had a pretty good month of January. Again, we had some significant changes to the playground supervision and our schedule, specifically around the lunchtime, where we only have half of our kids on the playground at a time instead of all 175 kids. And so we saw a significant decrease in playground referrals. And then our teachers have taken a more active role in supervising morning and afternoon recess students as well. And so we've seen just some positive impact on that. So just wanted to share that. And then just, keeping you guys in the loop on our early literacy data. This is specific to our K-3 lens. With our IRI, we're digging in with teachers to kind of look specifically at each individual student and their individual student growth trends. So you can see, collectively, if you look at the whole grade level, we see kind of a little trend actually downwards in third grade. There's a variety of reasons for that. Most significantly is our sample size is so small. So when we have 20 kids, if one kid doesn't do well or isn't present for the test, it tends to skew our data out. There are other factors at play, the number of students in special programs, whether that's English language or special education, they tend to, by nature, just grow at a slower pace. And so as the grade level curriculum increases over the course of the year, their trend doesn't quite keep up with that. And so we just want to keep you guys in the loop on the literacy data there and the conversations we're having with kids. Also, just as previously, just including the newsletter link for you guys to kind of keep in touch with what's happening. We put that out at the first of every month of the elementary. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Thank you, sir. Next, grants coordinator report.
So we have Eli is here tonight. We're working on a track equipment grant as a senior project. We did receive the permission to move forward on our United Way Vision Council grant. So currently we have our community schools coordinator salaries funded out of the Coalition for Community Schools, which is actually in your Slate magazine this year, or this quarter is about community schools, page 36. So this would be in addition to helping be able to pay for her salary next year. So we'll make that presentation in March. And then we did receive the Gear Up mini grant to move forward on the College and Career Center, and then researching communities playground and technology grant. I did add on page 2 of my report, this is the new graphic that I really liked from the community schools work. But the article in your state magazine also really talks beautifully to this. And so I did add this. Originally we were working on 4 pillars, and now as you can see, it's the 6 pillars. And so when you have time, please check it out. And then I'm going to introduce Charlene to you guys, and she has a schools nurse community school, does our community schools work. This is her senior project. And I'll scroll when you're ready.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Juliana. I'm currently a senior, and I'm here today to present my senior capstone project of having a school nurse. So I was in disbelief when I came to notice in the 8th grade that we didn't have a school nurse, and I grew up always having a school nurse at my old school. So we're here today why nurse would create a safe learning environment. The Notice School District would be more beneficial if we had a school nurse, and these are the reasons I listed here, the benefits. A school nurse would help acute illnesses bone, and we did have a student in the recent years that had a large head injury that could have been managed more efficiently. Once we have a school nurse, we can start hosting these clinics here, the dental mammogram, bus, blood donation, flu shot clinic, vision screens, help coordinate with these with families and students. Our nurse can also help coordinate with the academic IEPS, the 504 plan, because students with health conditions, they tend to be absent to attend to their health care appointments. So catching up, and the nurses and doctors recommend what their plan to keep up with the other students will help. Training staff and parents, training our staff basic first aid, and parents learning medical information towards their needs, not just our teachers, but also parents tend to not be informed of their child's condition. So having a nurse update them and help take care of their child, not just in school, but at home too. Staff support. Our students, our teachers tend to pay attention to more of that child that needs more care. So a nurse can take that role on, and our teachers can focus on the other students. Reporting, our nurse can have to keep update of everything they need to take care of, such as the expenses report, health reports, and grants of our children. And then continuing education. Many school nurses will continue to further their education to better themselves for our students. On the next slide here, for more information is great because it benefits students. In order to prove this, I sent you a survey for our students through 7th through 12th, our middle school and high school. And these are just a few questions I asked our students. 66%, do you think your family would benefit from a school nurse, health resources, or information? 66 of our students said it would be very helpful. Would you trust the school nurse with any medical condition that you may have? 57 of our students said that they would trust. And then, would you feel safer at school with a school nurse? 60% of our students said yes. More than half support my idea in each category, so this is why I propose we implement my idea. My solution here is to start funding and have a part-time to start off with at the elementary and the high school. For the funding, while a portion of money is set aside from the general fund, although we may not be able to replicate this at the moment, I have a proposal that we could allow the school nurse in the future of our school, and I suggest a trial runoff recruiting a part-time school nurse to work both schools during that time. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Really good, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would also just like to highlight that Ms. Rueda is part of our CASA consortium, and she has received CNA training and
I'm certified for CNA, and I'm now taking pharmacist, so I should be certified by the end of the year.
I was her sub a couple of times this last year, so I know who she is. Next, Federal Programs Director report.
I just wanted to invite everybody. We are having our family engagement workshop next week during parent teacher conferences, where we'll have 3 mini workshops. Officer Lober will start off with some online safety, and then Mrs. Briggs is going to talk with the audience about some mental health support. And then we'll end the night with a family budgeting workshop with Carla Bales, who's our project launch advocate. And she has, I'm going. She has these folders about how to keep a budget within your family. And so that's coming up. And then Jess and I are working on Latinx Parent Advisory Group. So we're going to have our first kickoff meeting next week. I'm excited about that. So that falls under that. Any questions for that report?
Anyone? Nope. Junior high, senior high, high school principal report.
Just wanted to spotlight, we had a big PBIS celebration. We had a 3-on-5 basketball. There's 3 of our 3, and then here's one of our 5, and it was super fun. To watch the students have fun, and the coaches sweat a little bit. And they actually tried to give it to them, I think.
I tried.
And then, but it was a lot of fun. Tomorrow, Mrs. Briggs is taking some girls to Girls Going STEM. Mrs. Wright took some, actually presented at the SheTech presentation. And then our Sources of Strength campaign is doing a kickoff for our Trusted Adult campaign. And then we also passed out a little bit of love yesterday. That's on the table. And then just some tasks that I've been working on. We are moving forward on applying for a cluster of computer science cluster that will help us with our master schedule, and more information will be coming. Hopefully next month we'll have some more a proposal of the master schedule for the secondary partnerships. So kind of like what Shirley was talking about, I'm hoping for a mental health provider, and then also possibly potential new partnership with Southwest Health District will have a pop-up clinic. So that could help with some well child exams, immunization clinics, things like that. So some preventative care, not crisis care, but hopefully we'll get there. And then I am participating in that Vision Tomorrow committee with the city of Notice. So right now we're just discussing the growth that's coming. And so there's a lot of people on that board. So I'm excited to kind of see what next steps are for that committee. That's all my report. Any questions with that?
I have a question for the superintendent. I believe Caldwell School District had one of the elementaries that was, I want to say it was a neighbor school, and they had somebody, if I remember correctly, again, this was 4 years ago, almost 5. They had a nurse, mental health person, childcare advocates, all kinds of people like that that were there after hours, all of that.
Hopefully this will happen. with
Same thing?
partnerships,
Okay.
yeah.
That's kind of what I thought it was, but I was trying to remember.
I think that's what we're trying to do, is make Notice more enticing for some providers, because then they could be open on Friday for the community as well. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, that's a great question. But I answered not my.
I defer.
Good job. Superintendent's report.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just wanted to highlight a couple of things. Again, we had quite a packed report in other areas, and so just really want to kind of focus on a couple of things here. Specifically, we're already working on our staffing footprint for next year. As indicated in our personnel report, we do have some openings that we will be posting here shortly. None of that is really a surprise. It's just a matter of just kind of reallocating and shifting some of our resources around. Specifically, as noted there, we're posting for elementary teacher position, grade level to be determined. We hired a late hire this year in September. That's some automatic expiration with that one contract. And then again, with the resignation that was approved tonight in the personnel report, we do have an additional opening at the elementary school for next year. And then the secondary social studies component, we just, as we're realigning our staffing, just want to make sure that we put that out so that as we start our recruitment efforts, that we kind of have that out there. We are still looking for junior high track coaches. I think we've received a couple of applications. So if anybody in the room that's not a board member is interested in being a junior high track coach, let us know. And then we've had some shift on the cost of staffing. I've been reporting on this every month just to kind of make sure to keep you guys in the loop. We do have a speech language pathologist assistant who has been contracted with CASA to start on Wednesday of this week. And so we actually had kind the substitute assistant filled in on Thursday, so we're starting to get back to providing services. Still to be determined on how much we have to work in order to make up the services that haven't been offered since November there. And Miss Sact, who many of you likely know, she's been here for quite a while, is our CASA preschool teacher, announced her retirement here recently, and so she's planning to retire at the end of the year. We just want to wish her best as a notice staff member as well. So, and then this was presented at the CASA board meeting last month. Just want to highlight it. I know that Trustee Sorrell, this is near and dear to your heart because you've lived that world, but we've been very, very vocal and adamant that Notice needs additional resource teaching staff support. And so the current projection as they're working on budgeting is to assign 2 resource teachers to Notice. Right now our current caseload is 42
Very
students.
good.
And there's a significant amount of paperwork, let alone the instruction that comes along with each one of those kids. And so it's still to be determined as we go through the board budget process and see what those budgets actually look like and how they actually break down. But hopefully we'll start to see some shift on that as well. And then there's a lot cooking at the legislative level on slow simmer. So nothing, and this could have shifted since last week, but as of last Wednesday, not a single bill had made it to the governor's desk for the entire legislative session, regardless of from where and governing what. There's been a significant amount of turnover at the state legislature. I've listed kind of several things there. Kind of the big, and they're all big in their own way. So just quickly go through them for those in the audience. Still a lot of talk about possible restructure of the funding formula. That we'll just kind of have to wait and see how it comes out. The enrollment funding versus average daily attendance funding. The governor has been very adamant that he is not supporting enrollment funding, despite the fact that we have to staff for 100% of our kids. And so there's still a lot of talk about average daily attendance, to be determined whether or not, as long as ESSER funds are available for the COVID response, that we meet the emergency criteria for the state board to still continue to authorize enrollment funding for an additional year. Currently, our average daily attendance is running right about 92%. So as we look into budgeting for next year, that's a big difference if we're budgeting based on 92% ADA versus 100% enrollment. Has impact on our funding units, and so just want to keep an eye on that.
What was the percent on that?
Roughly 92, and again, it depends on a lot of other factors.
Yes.
It's your best 28 weeks. It's your by this date. Some of those types of things. A lot of the discussion at the state level with superintendents is we're still operating on the if you cough, don't come to school mode. And so it's just a lot of those discussions. The governor announced in his budget looking to raise the teacher salary from the lowest 10 in the nation to the top 10 in the nation by adding $6,300 to each cell of the state career ladder. And so that's good news out there. A lot of the other discussion has been added about how can we improve our pay rates and scales and reimbursements for our classified employees. And so we've been told not to expect a legislative shift in code. They don't want to open up that part of the code for debate at the legislative level, but potentially looking at increasing the base salary calculation to get some more money into the schools for that. Benefit line item funding, currently all of our medical health benefits all come out of discretionary funding. There's a lot of talk about line iteming benefits so that it's clear as to what's benefits and what's truly discretionary. And we'll see where that goes because it's all on the negotiating table. And then one of the big ones I think that's important, that's not directly related to education, but has a significant impact for districts because of the bonding and levying of our local taxpayers, is the projected property tax relief. So we're talking about $120 million of property tax relief across the state. The calculations, the estimated calculation is that the total number of bonds and levies outstanding right now for an annual payment, not everything altogether, but is roughly about 110 million. So potentially, providing some property tax relief there, that in whichever way, shape, or form it comes from the legislature, will benefit schools and also benefit taxpayers as well who are supporting schools through those local taxes for bonds and levies. And like I said, there's a lot of other things kind of floating around. We don't anticipate much done until we've been told there was a scheduled late session, so probably April at the earliest. So just want to keep you guys in the loop on that. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions, anyone?
So timing wise, Micah, for the idea of evaluations, I just wanted to make sure that when the board came up with, my idea of sequential evaluations and reviewing contracts, for you two's sake of doing evaluations, that we were still looking at the idea of February for soup, March would be the principal and tenured, April non-tenured, and then May would be the extracurricular and any additional contracts, and then of course letters of intent to go out between in the May area, and then by June 30th contracts issued. Does that sound similar to what?
As discussed at the last board meeting, we've been operating on the superintendent and admin being done in February. So Ms. Wright's evaluation is done and completed. And so and I know that there's discussion around my evaluation during executive session tonight. Teacher contracts, both for continuing and non-continuing contracts, we're operating on kind of the allowances made in the last board meeting for the April timeline for that. And there's been a lot of discussion. We've had some discussion at the administrative level with the Teachers Association around timing for issuing contracts. Whether it would be beneficial to issue them earlier rather than later. The pros and cons of that as it relates to master agreement. We want to make sure that we have a commitment to the staff that they have a position to return, but also that they have a commitment to return to the district formally. And so there's been, some discussion. We're still kind of nuancing what that is, potentially offering them in May so that the 10-day return window happens prior to teachers leaving for summer break. Up until the last possible day, is issued in by July 9th. And so striking the balance there so that it's best and mutually beneficial to all stakeholders in that sense. And so we'll continue to have those conversations with the association. And our plan is still to have those recommendations for rehire based on those contract or those teacher evaluations in the April board meeting. So that when it comes down to whether or not a formal intent to return to the staff is necessary, or if an intent to retire from the district is necessary, or turning around and issuing contracts.
I think the only thing about contracts would be a high probability it would be at the same rate that they currently are at due to the negotiations usually following after that, but I see that done in districts. Could be done, but might not. Second question is, you were gonna work up the board, a list of the category 1, 2, and 3 so that they knew who was coming upon. Is that something still possible for the board to be able to see?
I'm not sure I understand what your question is.
We were asking for a list of the ones that are first year ones under category one, and then especially 2 and 3s, and the ones that 3s could go into, the tenure status, so the board knew at each level and each person where they're falling.
The plan is to include that with the recommendation for rehire in April, more than likely in March, we could in March for discussion. But the evaluations will not be completed by that time.
So April, is that you're thinking, Micah, that was gonna be the tenured and non-tenured?
Based on the discussion that was offered by the board members last board meeting, that's the timeline that we've.
Combined, okay. It would be, I think it's up to the board, but I think it'd be good for them to see that a month prior to acting upon it, just so that they know who's coming up into year 4, if it's possible. If you're agreeable with it, I can give you that a month early.
That's when we can bring that. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
public record.
Were we, any issues with that, knowing ahead of time?
That way you guys know what's coming before you act upon it.
Yeah, we can try to get that done.
Thank you.
No further questions? We'll go forward. Board self-assessment. Mrs. Coles, do you have all the paperwork, or are you missing any?
I'm still missing some. If anybody has their self-assessment for the board, I'll collect those now.
I'll have it by the end of the day.
Perfect.
Okay, moving on to old business, discuss levy planning for future election. Do you have any comments, statements, concerns, questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll kind of give you kind of an update as kind of where some of the action that we're working just to educate and inform our constituency. So we have updated our levy website specifically with information included in the brochure, as well as kind of the historical table that we discussed briefly at our last meeting. We have also just recently launched social media for the district for Instagram and a specific district level Facebook page that is advertising some of those educational components as well. I know that we have I don't want to speak to the other work that the board members are doing, and so I'll just kind of leave you guys to do that. I know there's been some discussion about some potential other evening events. Trustee Park, something you want to speak to that?
Yes, I do. We are trying to get put together as quickly as we can, information to be able to be seen visually and have board members there. Possibly Micah can attend part of them, and they'll be at the community center downtown. And also, you said that we could do something the night of the
Parent-teacher conferences.
yes,
We can set up a
conferences.
table
Yeah.
at parent teacher conferences next week, as well as for the FFA auction on March 4th.
Okay, so as soon as we can get that solidified, then we can get that out on the media and spread the word and try to have as many people come as can, so that we can answer your questions and help you understand the way things should be going and need to be going. Because I know there's a lot of
Misconceptions.
misunderstanding, I'll go with that one, on part of the facts. So we do need to have people come to these meetings that we're going to be setting up right away. Okay?
Any questions, sir?
When would these meetings be announced, or how would they be announced?
Very,
When
very
they're
short.
having
I
meetings.
will tell you. Let's see. What did you say on the 20th, Micah?
We have a costume meeting
Yeah.
that night, so John and I are unavailable.
Okay, and we decided no on the 16th, is that right?
Oh,
It's just
Too
Yeah,
early.
I do too. Okay, so right at the moment, I'm looking at Tuesday, the 28th and of February, and Tuesday, the 7th of March at the community center. If I can find some place or not place, a date on the week of the 20th, I'll do that. But right at the moment, I have to do some checking for that.
Could we also check on your website?
Yes,
It should be
it'll
there
be
then?
posted, it'll be posted those places, yes.
Okay, so we'll just check on your website
Yep.
and we'll be up to date.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then some information for the rest of the constituents. Kenny County will be starting walk-in voting on February 27th. Also, the last day to request for absentee ballots is February 28th. So if you are into absentee voting, possibly contacting them now to get that in the mail. And then also last day for absentee voting is March 10th. And then, of course, we have our election day on March 14th.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, that, I've encouraged the board to make certain that they're doing, and district administration, that they're doing all informational work and no promotion, which I've seen them following that. The activities that Karen's talking about are evening beyond the school day and beyond the realm of employees' work days, which is something that isn't allowed. We're down to, as John said, today's the 13th, so we're a month and a day to election time. The brochure, Roseanne sent it out, I think, pretty extensively, and I reviewed it, we tried to be as explanatory as we could on both the levies. I think, as you know, the cost of levy is required to stay within 1/10 of 1%, and that is about a third of the total cost of CASA that is not covered through the levy. But it can't change because that's the law. The plant now has dropped from 2 years ago down to about a third of where 2/3 dropped, a third left of where it was. And I computed for the board the levies around in the district surrounding Notice, and Notice was the highest district levy of the surrounding areas of Region 3, which is right around us, prior to the plant dropping. With the plant dropping, you guys dropped from the highest to 10th, which is pretty good because that puts you lower than every surrounding district except Wilder. And Wilder's had some difficulties in keeping levies passed. So even with a little bit of a spike of the plant, and as you recall, the levy collection for the plant that you collected did not meet the needs of your expenditures, especially for maintenance and for custodial at $203,000. So it has a little bit of an increase in there to at least cover actual expenses of them, and it still though is from where you were before at $4.96, you're into the $2 realm, which is a nice reduction for the patrons out there with that drop. So just wanted to say, from my perception, Mr. Chairman, I think the district's doing a good job of looking at this, trying to educate the patrons and inform them of the need of both of those levies.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll move forward to new business. Consider approving overnight field trip for 6th grade to Bruto.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am. Or sir, sorry.
I would like to turn over this portion to our sixth grade students and teachers.
Yes, we are excited to be here. Thank you so very much. So we are here to ask permission to attend end of the year overnight field trip to Bruno. We have the sixth grade team, fabulous sixth grade team. We also have these wonderful Rockstar students that came to support our lead student that is going to be presenting today. So I'm so proud of every single one of them.
Hi, I'm Riley Dean, one of this year's sixth graders. We are hoping to get approved for Thursday, May 11th through Friday, May 12th. This not only will be fun, memorable, but also educational. The travel will take us from Notice to the Notice Elementary to Napa to Boise, then to Mountain Home, then to Berkeley. Thursday, May 11th. 10:30 a.m. we will leave Notice Elementary. 11:15 we'll have a lunch break at Black Creek Rest Area. 12 we will leave the rest area and continue to Bruno Dunes State Park. At 1:30 we will arrive at Bruno Dunes Campground, unpack and set up our tents. At 3 we will participate in educational activities. 3 teachers equals 3 unique and fun learning. 4:30 to 6:30 we hike and explore small dunes. 6:30 we do dinner and games, and 8 we hike to the observatory and view stars, galaxies, and hopeful planets. At 10 is campground curfew. Friday, May 12th. At 6:30 we'll have breakfast. Breakfast burritos, honestly, the only thing you'll get sixth graders out of bed in the morning. 8 a.m. we'll load the bus to Big Dunes Trail. 12:30 will be lunchtime back at the campground. 1:30 we'll head back to the Notice Elementary. At 3:30 we'll arrive back at Notice. Parents will pick up their students from the elementary school. The expenses. Campground will cost about $400. Observatory will cost about $200. Transportation, including fuel, maintenance, and a driver, comes to $482. The bingo prizes will cost about $300, and chaperone will be about $30 each. Meals will be provided by our sixth grade families. I know this sounds like a lot, but we have worked very hard at the Notice Harvest Festival and Valentine's Day cookie sales. The meals will be donated by our sixth grade families. The information we have so far: 11 parents interested in attending, 9 parents interested in becoming official chaperones. Our outdoor school at Bruno Dunes. Like we said before, this will be educational, so we will be borrowing some of our curriculum from Deer Flat National Wildlife Refuge. Community support. Mr. Chad Kite, Idaho State Man Editor, will teach sixth graders how to write an article on the 9th of 2023. We will go on the Bruno trip and then come back and write our article about what we did. This is last year's Bruno trip. This year's seventh graders. Sixth grade Bruno Dunes overnight field trip, recurring since approximately 2000. We ask your permission to continue this tradition. Thank you. We would love if any of you were going to attend. Any questions?
Quite a few of you have attended, right?
Action team.
It's gotten better with time.
Yeah, sure.
I think the weather, honestly, I think the weather was better.
At ours, yeah.
Then,
We just had a wind. That's all we had.
you have rain sometimes.
No, we didn't.
Very nice presentation.
Yes, that was
Yes,
awesome. Very
she
good job.
practiced so many times. And the other sixth graders want to stand and talk, but they came. Even Emmy dragged her dad here tonight. So she could be part of this.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of all of them.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much, guys.
Thank you. Ms. Golden? Oh, yes.
Ms. Golden and Ms. Wright, would you like to say anything about your t-shirt?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. I can't. My husband's in a Mopar group, so I keep wanting to say Idaho Modern Mopar. That's not what that's Idaho Middle School
Middle Levels Association.
Yeah. And so we attended last weekend with Mr. Forbes.
We
forgot his shirt. It was so wonderful to be fed. We have not been, or I have not been to a conference in so long, and to go there and to hang out and learn from all these middle school teachers. It was fabulous. One of my takeaway quotes is Eric Francis. He says, "I was taught how to stand, but from a man with no legs. A man with no legs taught me how to stand." It was so inspirational, and it was because of his dad. It was beautiful.
So we got to attend a few different sessions and just
Yes.
really get excited and get new ideas and made new connections to people teaching similar things. So it was a great opportunity.
Face-to-face socializing is amazing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It
It
was
is.
wonderful. It was fabulous. And next year, yes,
Next year is local. It's in
it'll be in
Caldwell.
Caldwell. And there, we did suggest, or somebody suggested that if we bring more people, can they give us a
Right.
discount on the pricing? So we're hoping that we can send more of our middle school staff. So it was fabulous.
And additionally, why I asked them to talk about, Notice has been conducting the Bruneau Dunes trip for 15 years, almost every year in that time span. And, you know, that level of excursion learning is rather unique in the city of Idaho. And so, you know, I think it's important, you know, as you guys consider approving this trip, but also just the encouragement for the teachers and the kids to come back to that ILA conference next year to be able to present that to that at the state level conference as well. So
They're always looking for new presenters.
Yes.
Right?
All right. We got it.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to say, Miss Golden did send me that second to last picture of one of the boys standing in that group was my son. And when he was in sixth grade, he's now 28. And she sent me some pictures about a year ago or so.
Yes.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yes.
And I showed them to him, and he just had all kinds of memories, flashback, and so to me, I think it's just awesome. So, do I have anyone make a motion to consider this trip?
Mr. Chair, I would make a recommendation to approve this overnight trip to the Bruno Sand Dunes for the sixth graders for this year.
Do I have- All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It's been approved. Okay. And next, we discuss student transportation request for proposal.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
as previously requested by this school board, I have spent an amount of time putting together a draft RFP for transportation, for student transportation. So this is not available on the public facing side of things because there's still a lot of contract language that still needs to be reviewed. But in the administrative content, for each of you, you should be able to see the request for proposal bid specs. Still trying to work specifically around how to articulate our transportation needs as it relates to our CASA routes. You know, typical school transportation is morning, kindergarten in the middle of the day, and in the afternoon, and we have all kinds of midday shuttles and some of those types of things. So still working on doing that Ideally, from a timeline perspective, what I would like to do is to have the formal RFP for your approval at the March board meeting with a proposed timeline to issue it for publication in the newspaper shortly thereafter, so that we can really be looking at middle of April, middle to late of April to collect those bids back from transportation providers. So just wanted to share kind of that process where we're at with you. The state of Idaho does provide a 2-page guidance document of things to consider for putting together a request for proposal, but no actual draft language around a request for proposal. However, they do have a contract. So I've taken, like I said, a lot of time to kind of piece several back and forth from other districts that have been approved for those, but making it very specifically notice, as opposed to, we don't need to have 5 mechanics on staff from our transportation provider, since we only run 3 buses. So, but just wanted to bring that up for discussion and see if that's still where the board would like us to potentially aim for March.
Any concerns, any questions? Nope. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it, Ali. Yes, sir.
I agreed to assistant superintendent. If you wanted me to review any of that, I'm still glad to do it. Like pertaining to the CASA piece, what I did in Middleton on, I had special ed that ran during the course of the day, is I did some of that as add alternates, to where I get the basic bid and then add in whatever we desire. That might be an idea for CASA work for us.
Yeah, part of that analysis is to figure out if it's more cost effective to do 2 standard routes with those add alternates, or 3 standard routes including them. So, it's just kind of splitting the mileage and the schedules are the big thing, particularly with Parma going to a 4-day school week. They now don't have school until 3:45. And so if we have students that we're transporting back from Parma, our buses are running a regular PM route. Right over there to pick them up. And so that's kind of the one outlier. And everything else I think fit within the other 2 structures. So.
Is your intent to do all your athletics on these 2 buses you got, or will they be included in that?
I think it's gonna come down to just the size of the program and the availability from it. So, again, we have used the activity buses for a girls basketball team, and we're taking 7 or 8, 9 girls, one direction, but when anything over 14, that would have to take two vans essentially, for the bus. And so when you start talking about all team with football equipment and complete, especially in a lot of our games that scheduled as boys and girls quad basketball games, we're taking 4 teams. It's not necessarily cost effective to run the activity buses for those, but for the track practices and our smaller activities, it does. So
And that'd be another one that you could look at and do an addendum to say to them, if you schedule, what would the additional cost be on a basis that you determine.
Thanks, sir. Next, discuss the ABM contract.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Again, as previously requested from the board, this is just an opportunity for us to talk specifically about the ABM contract. Again, this is includes documentation of the actual the final executed copy of the contract from last spring, I believe. This is the original document executed in May of 2021. Our contract with ABM specifically includes all custodial supply For basically kind of their general rules, anything in the building they cover, from a supply perspective and equipment perspective. All of the floor polishers and bathroom, cleaning supplies are all kind of included in that. And then the maintenance side of that, anything outside the building is predominantly the district's responsibility to fund. They did make available lawnmower this year, kind of towards the end of the mowing season in the fall, that ABM owns. The ABM contract is just about $237,000 annually. And again, depending on which historical year you look at in the plant facilities expenditures, the district has expended anywhere from $150,000 to $175,000 additional out of that plant facilities. And a significant portion of that is the maintenance cost, right? So it's maintenance equipment, it's building upgrades, we just had to replace the toilet. You guys authorized, the HVAC unit, some of those types of things. And those are all things that get funded out of that plant facility already, above that. So this contract is up for renewal in March or in May. We anticipate ABM. We're going to talk with them on whether they would like to come present to you in March or in April regarding kind of their projection. I know that it's something that we've been keeping close watch on since December, where the staffing turnover. We've had a lot of positive feedback from staff and students and community around our new staffing with ABM. We finally got the lights done in the gym, so if you're here for a basketball game the next month, it's dramatically brighter in there. I think they ended up, there were 30 light bulbs that were completely out, and they had, as they were working on it, there were 30 additional ones that they needed to replace. So there's 60 new light bulbs in the gym. And again, as indicated, the district expense was the light bulbs. The fact that they had to rent the machine multiple times because of their staffing issues, ABM has covered that cost of renting that machine actually 2 additional times. So, they are working, to make sure that they honor their commitment to provide the services that we've been asked to them to do.
Any questions?
I just haven't, I've always had a concern about this contract. I mean, we're talking about almost as much as we're paying for SPED. And that's concerning to me. So I just want to make sure that we are, we are not like, if we went the other way that we were doing it, like hiring people and everything, and making sure that we're not going over what it would be if we hired those people ourselves and did, like we were doing it before we did ABM. So that's my big concern, is making sure that this, it looks like they raised it 3%, or they.
Yeah, that was from last year. That was from last year. Remember that.
So, that's, you're looking, I had down 233,000, but, I just want to make sure that we're still under that. And I would, to see the two, like, what would it be if we did this versus this?
Yeah, I mean, we could put together that analysis. It's we would have to dig to build that, honestly, because it's beyond just the staffing component. So,
I know that's
providing a straight apples to apples from a staffing perspective, I could give you kind of what the going rate would be for us to provide the 5 staffing positions that they provide, with not only the salary, but also the medical benefits that we provide our district employees, as well as Percy and all of those. We can provide that. The kind of the outlier component of it is because ABM is a national corporation, so they get price breaks on all of their supply that we can't match. And so you start talking about how much does does a case of toilet cleaner cost, our cost is gonna be more than what they can provide. Again, we've made a lot of efforts this year to tighten control around spending, specifically from ABM in those maintenance and grounds components, right? So we've had a lot of, we had sprinkler issues last fall. We've had a lot of kind of just wear and tear on the building. It just comes from that. But our new ABM lead person has been working with our business office very closely to where we're placing kind of one order, and then it's either getting delivered to us or we're going and picking up that order in a timely manner with, there for a while, 2 or 3 trips to Home Depot in one day, right? And so we've really tried to tighten down the efficiency of that to make sure that we're not wasting those funds. And again, the historical has been previously provided, the historical expenditure, roughly about $400,000, 4.25, depending on COVID and these things in that plant facilities fund. We built this year's amendment budget on that $356,000 number, which is what we're asking our taxpayers to approve. Outstanding from that is what was approved at the last board meeting of the old gym renovation and the HVAC unit. So, that will dip into that reserve fund for plant facilities. But we're working on our operational expense in grounds maintenance and custodial to hit that number or lower than what we're asking our taxpayers to supply.
And then the other thing was, just making sure that we know what's going on and we know what they're doing. So things don't get done without approval, from you or whoever. We had an issue with that before. And so that concerns me with ABM as well. So those are just a couple of my concerns about ABM.
In the next, and I know you're planning on trying to ask them to come and present to us. Is there any chance we can get reports, some kind of report from them if they don't come next month, if they wait till April?
Yes, I'm not sure what that will look like. Again, I'd have to go back through and look at our minutes. There was a customer's report that we presented back in October, I would say. It was a pretty quick binder of ABM that we do have available for the board to review as well. A big portion of that is kind of satisfaction survey from staff. It's included in that. Again, that was kind of just prior to the upheaval that we had with our staffing there. But we can definitely work with ABM to ask them to provide some feedback, as well as, we've got the reports of the work. There's a maintenance request form that we ask staff to fill out prior to ABM doing anything. And so, and all of their expenditures require pre-authorization now. So, we're working to make sure that we know that we're not hampering the system by saying you have to wait for a signature before you go get the toilet. Right, to repair it, or, something. I guess it's a call to plumber, maybe. But making sure that they're not authorizing the expenditure. I think that's coming from us.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about who they're hiring to come in to, like a building inspector.
One question, John.
Go ahead, sir.
At one time, the thought was, the information we got was that they were running a little short on like a half a custodian, or did that get rectified?
I believe that our staffing footprint has balanced back out now that people have all returned from their regular vacation, extended vacation schedules and this. So there's a gal, I think they worked really well to actually align their schedules even too, because there was time where we had like 2 or 3 hours during the school day where we didn't have ABM on campus at all. And they're staggering those. So we always have somebody here. The one gal at the elementary school gets in at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock these days. until 11:30. And so, staffing, they're back at full speed with staffing.
So I guess my question is, during that time that they run at full speed, do you know what the duration of lack it was, that, did they make up any extra time to offset what they missed?
I could ask for a specific report on that. I do know that there were times, specifically around the holiday break and even prior in December, where they had their office staff and some of their senior leadership out here doing the work too, because we made it very clear that we expected the work to still be done, whether that was snow removal or even cleaning bathrooms or even the work in the gym to repair the ceiling tiles and get the light bulbs was staff that they would be assigned from other locations in order to get that house. So whether it's a straight apples to apples, I can't speak to that, but they have made an effort to make that up over time.
Anything else? Okay, moving on. First reading of proposed school year 23-24 calendar.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, sir.
we have proposed for first read calendar for the next school year. This calendar recommendation has gone through the calendar committee from the board perspective, including trustee Jensen, who's not in attendance tonight. It was vetted through parents that serve on that committee, as well as kind of several rounds of this or that from teachers around the schedule. And so, specifically, this calendar is kind of a first look. We plan on adding to this in March, the subsequent following year. We just, there's a couple of minor tweaks that we wanted to make sure that we got some community feedback on before we supplied that. So the biggest change on this calendar to the current operating calendar, and Ms. Miller and Ms. Wright, feel free to jump in if I get something wrong. So is that based on statutory obligation from last legislative session, we're required to provide dyslexia training to all of our staff, which takes anywhere from 3 to 8 hours minimum, depending on who you ask. And so we wanted to make sure that we added an additional day prior to students coming back on campus without taking away the 3 additional days that we already have scheduled for teachers. So you'll see a 4th day. It's been added there as Friday, August 11th, as a teacher only day. We are scheduled, penciled in to receive that dyslexia training on the 10th. But we also have our open house back to school night on the 10th. Or 11th as well, as we look to that. So, and then the biggest shift from that as well is the request to have the full week of Thanksgiving off. And so those 2 days have been, again, reallocated, either in the calculation of total student hours, as well as a sliding Friday, which is set for Friday, the 8th of September. So as the staff looked at making up a student contact day in first semester, they determined that they would rather have that sliding Friday scheduled in. So there is scheduled student day on that Friday, the 8th of September.
And that's the only Friday that the kids will go to school.
Correct. This year we did not have any sliding Fridays. And so that was part of the kind of give and take around. They wanted the days around Thanksgiving off, and then we can make up those days that day during the first semester. So.
Go ahead, sir.
So, Mike, it sounded like you were gonna draft a following year calendar as well.
Correct.
I recommended the 2-year, a 3-year one, but I like the idea that you're gonna do a 2 one.
Our plan was to include the next two following years, but the discussion around the additional PD day set in August. We just needed some additional time and we ran out of that just in our meetings. Whether or not that remains in August prior to school coming back, or if it would be better allocated some other time during the year. So we wanted to make sure that we engaged with the faculty and that calendar committee to make sure that we looked at that.
Oh, good.
For the next 2 years out. Additionally, the finance calculation calendars won't be out officially for next school year as well, but we'll make sure to include the hourly calculation instructional plan based on this calendar when we get time to approve for final read at the March 14th.
Are you placing that somewhere, the total hours at each of the levels?
That school finance calculation spreadsheet. So we'll have that overlaid over this for the board to understand. Again, that the formal worksheet won't be available yet. But the rules are gonna change. So we just make sure that we have those calculations available.
Good. I'm glad you decided to go with 3 years. I think for patrons and parents, I know they always were very appreciative of us doing that. I think that'll help the district look a little bit further out.
Any other questions from anyone? Thank you, sir.
So. Mr.
Oh,
Chairman,
yes,
do
I'm
we
sorry.
need to
We do
approve?
need to have a motion to approve the first reading.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
What was in
Ms.
there?
Sorrow?
I move that we approve this 2023-2024 calendar for next school year as stated in the agenda.
So you want to go past the first reading and go on to just approving it?
Yeah.
Second.
Or do you want to move to second reading?
No, I mean, I like the way it looks right there.
I'll second
Matt seconds. All those in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? It has been approved.
It was really close to mine.
And now, looks like we need to, someone make a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. Hardcastle.
I move that we go into executive session for IC 74-206, 1A B.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Mrs. Coles, will you please do roll call vote, please?
I will. Trustee Baldazo,
Yes.
trustee Campbell,
Yes.
trustee Jensen is absent, trustee Sorrow,
Yes.
and trustee Hardcastle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we can take a 5-minute break before we go into executive session. It is currently 7:38 PM.
Thank you.
I don't believe so.
had such a horrible time and talked a little bit to John, asked him a couple questions, and then you verified the same thing, and so I thought maybe it would be this way. You know, and supporting each other and everything, and I thought maybe we could get it.
What do you mean, just the other person?
She only had 7 messes and like 14 those, and like 4 babies. And I've got 6 messes
One and
and 8 those. And then I'm going to get into school for gender and school.
the May would do some Googling.
And I.
And
understand that,
did you find
you know,
an answer?
Nikki
Oh, yeah.
and Jesse
Okay.
have
We make a note to make sure that Yvonne fills out an actual official.
where the farmers are
Fields
involved.
request.
and that's where the most money.
She usually does. I've seen them in the past.
Like, I have like 11 yeses so far, but there's Megan Linkhart and her husband. Do I think they're gonna say no? No. Barb and Mike.
Okay.
That's,
Oh, I can't talk
Go.
about it?
no, that's, we need to move forward. Going to conclusion, board request for district administration. Do we have any?
No, I don't.
I have listed, a staff list of current contract status.
Oh, yeah.
for
Yes.
certified staff. Um, And then contract recommendation. And then just the other things that we previously talked about.
Okay.
The ABM.
We just need, yeah, maybe a recorder.
Any unscheduled board member future items, anybody want something to come up? I believe we have policy
1520.
that's coming up next month.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Public
right,
speaking.
right, public speaking.
A couple of things just to kind of, bring attention to. We are planning to conduct the Parade of Excellence, prior to the March board meeting. So we will probably start at 5:30. In the high school gym. Correct? I don't know all the details, I'm just going off of what I've been told 35 times and stuff, can't remember.
Which one? Did you get?
March.
March, so March 13th at 5:30. We will conduct a parade of excellence. We will notice a quorum present for that portion, and then the regular board meeting to follow on 6:15 that evening. We also have the budget hearing scheduled for 5:30 on the 27th of February. And, again, it's based off the information we shared with the workshop previously. Just making sure that we formalize that process with all of the legal requirements.
You said that was 5:30.
Correct.
You remember the budget?
hmm
It's 5:30?
Yeah.
On the,
5:15.
on the 27th.
Holy moly, the 27th.
We're trying to get Ms. Sorrel an extra 15 minutes to get there. for
Okay.
other job.
Fine with me.
Because you know the traffic in Middleton.
It's horrible.
It's getting scary.
It's ridiculous, even with our new stoplight.
And then before you choose to adjourn, if you would like to revisit the old business action items, and just kind of brainstorm the levy. I just wanted, you're entitled to do that, it's on your agenda. Just before you adjourn. Since
Which
you're
would
all-
include this, the,
Since you're all still together, if you want to break off into subgroups and have those conversations separately, you can, as long as you're still meeting in quorum, it's that you don't get session, so.
that's fine, let's do it.
Let's do it. You were saying that you had some dates that you wanted to meet.
Yeah,
I would recommend, Karen, to kind of go along with your dates, I would recommend, as one of those date opportunities is the 22nd, correct?
we changed it to the 20th, didn't we?
So 20th you can't do,
Oh, okay, so the 22nd
the 22nd
is a Wednesday.
is next Wednesday. And we can notice a quorum for that.
We're-
Is that having a table up to?
Parent teacher conferences, so we can put 2 of you in this building, 2 of you in the other building.
I won't be able to be here on the 22nd.
So the 22nd.
So I think it just is best to split you up, so we'll notice a quorum in case you run into each other.
Okay,
And I think the best is to divide up into non-quorum segments.
What do we need to have at those tables?
What would you like? Extra pamphlets?
sign-in sheet, where we could have name, hopefully phone number, and,
That's
zone. So that maybe that would help us be able to create some lists where we will have the phone numbers and things. I don't know, what else, anything else?
And then this, timeline.
I don't think we need the whole timeline.
Yeah, just the part,
Just
not
the-
that.
Just the important dates,
Yeah.
and we'll make sure that we have hard copies of the talking points that I provided.
And registration form.
Registration, pre-registration will be closed by that point. They can fill it out as long as they bring it back to get on voting day. They can register after vote directly.
Can we get absentee ballot,
You have to request
You have-
it directly
That's what
from the
I'm
county
asking.
office.
we can't, okay, okay.
And again, I think that it's kind of you're educating the staff to consider the levy while we're on campus, so you have to be very careful when not saying vote yes or no.
Right,
And you just need to make sure that we're here to answer questions, if you have any questions, and again, I'll be available on campus that night, so if there's anything,
What time did you say that was?
the 22nd
Oh,
February, next Wednesday.
What time do you want them here?
Conferences run until 7, so, conferences run from 4 to 7. Some of the days work schedules don't allow for that, but. We just wanna,
I can,
I hadn't even got back to my room, but.
And then Karen, you had talked about doing something at the community center on the 28th and the 7th.
Yes.
28th of February and the 7th of March. Those are both Tuesdays.
And what time frame were you looking at for those?
I hadn't set a time, I wanted to ask what you guys thought. We have our board meetings at 6:15, and I don't know if, is 6:30 gonna be too early? I wouldn't say any after 7, I mean, what?
You gotta think about the people coming home from work.
Yeah, that's why I'm questioning. On the time.
Do one at like from 4 to 5 and one from 6:30 to 7:30? Because like a 4 o'clock,
You'll catch the people after school.
we could make sure that the families that have questions go that direction. After parent pickup.
4 to 5 and 6:30 to
7:30.
7:30.
And then
We gotta tell me, the 28th, what time?
27th,
Oh, the 28th.
oh, the 28th?
28th.
Okay.
27th is our-
So
28th from what to what?
4 to 5, and then 6:30 to 7:30.
on the 7th.
On both the 28th and the 7th,
What do you want? I don't know.
I would do that.
It's your guys' call.
both.
I would recommend doing both, and I'm available both days, so I like to do it.
Yeah, I just, yeah. And those days are open as far as the community
Is that
centers.
night to the closest? Oh, no, that's-
That one's on the February.
Miss Miller, would it be okay for us to align the teacher request for volunteers at the same time, right?
Which is
4 to 5 on the 28th.
4 to 5. What day of the week is that?
It's a Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, Roseanne, before you publish this, let me get back to you, because I do need to check, with City Hall on the 22nd date. The other two were okay.
I thought
22nd we'll do here.
Yeah. the
Oh,
22nd
never
is
mind. Just go back ahead.
Okay, so I've heard two things. One, that you're having both timeframes on both days and one early on one and late on the other. So which one is it?
On Tuesday, the 28th of February, and Tuesday, the 7th of March, we will have a 4 to 5 and a 6:30 to
Okay,
7:30.
thank you.
Correct?
And those are both at the community. center.
Yes.
So you guys will break for dinner.
Because you're really missing, and then you have to probably not let them make this Right,
I
will be
think, I think it would be good if we could have some visual things. Not necessarily just the handouts, but if we could have some charts or something that,
Yeah, we can work to make some bigger.
Next week too, the tables.
yeah, especially,
And then I've started working on creating, I don't know if you guys saw this.
I thought that was excellent.
So,
And I really liked the fact that you could press that little arrow and see the narrative on the CASA deal. That was very professional and really super good. I don't know who I told that to when I first came here. Somebody.
Yeah.
That's us. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I was telling some people, go look at that.
so do we have, what's our total number?
29.
We have 29 yeses. Our goal is 150.
29's all, I gave you 20.
I got, yeah,
Do you have the list of yeses from Johnny?
11,
No, I do not.
For sure. and I'm waiting on
Well, I know she's
callback
contacting people because I accidentally called the same people and they told me I've already talked to
for
them.
6 North. And 2 of those families work for the city. And the other one was the board member, board chair for the
It doesn't make any difference, but we just need the numbers.
So,
Just need the numbers and then
I
what
have
we'll do is, Rich mentioned tonight that he wanted you to have a list of who our registered voters are, so you could cross-reference.
John
things.
said he sent it to me. I can't get any emails from her, but as he said it was 2 weeks old, so I can go through and just verify that they are registered.
And then according to the master plan, the goal is to then reach out to them, your yeses on election day, remind them that today's election day. Please make sure that you cast a vote. And then text me when you're done, or call me back when you've done voted. I think that, I don't know the specifics. I was told that the last election like this was somewhere around 100 people total participated in this. If we get 100 yes votes, 150 yes votes, now it's the 70, potential no votes that we're going to get just from our regular community. It'll be important.
Because the percentage is on the amount of people that vote, correct? That's a big relief.
So if 100 people vote, we need 55 of them to
Okay.
say yes
Okay,
on the type facilities levy. We only need 50% of them to say yes, or 50 plus 1. So
and can we send anything home with the kids?
you can,
That's what I thought. Good try.
I think the way Mike has been sending those via text message and stuff probably work way better than sending.
yeah. Oh, that's probably the bottom of the bag.
Yeah.
forever. Till the
Yeah,
song figured it
and,
out.
I've been trying to refine those text messages to make them easier to access, because it's hard to get some of the information, so, you know, my goal is to send like 2 or 3 of those every week for the next month. Just to kind of remind them of what the upcoming deadlines are. You know, trying to figure out a way to tell a story, about what the, you know, specifically around the plant facilities. You know, I haven't been over there for a while, but we'll get an updated picture of the old gym and make sure that our community know that we're taking care of, getting that building up and going. And, you know,
Yeah.
with the-
I think
you know,
that's
the
good
feed-
information
The
to
feedback
get
that
out.
I received from our constituents tonight was fairly positive. I don't know whether that will translate into votes or not. But they were very appreciative of the efforts, both you as a board and us as an administration team, around, you know, just shining light on everything and making sure everybody knows what our true reality of it is. So. Okay.
So Jen, if you are doing something that I can help with, just holler, I'm pretty open.
Anyone have anything else?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
I.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:37.
Thank you.
Yes, because they're not specific.
What